Here's a sorry stat. In September, more people file for divorce in this month and in the month of January than any other months of the year. I wonder why that is. Divorce can tear apart families. It can tear apart households and emotions, and it certainly can tear apart your finances, especially for women, though I have to believe that might be changing with more women among the professional ranks and running their own businesses these days. Even if you have a good lawyer, the process can be fraught with financial peril. I've never heard of this job title before. It is Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, and Nancy Liebman of Chicago holds that particular title. She put her thoughts into a book, Get Your Fair Share, Control the Purse Strings of Your Divorce. If you're a woman with questions about divorce, you got to call right now if you want to take advantage of some free advice that we're providing here on WGN's air. 312-591-7200. Nancy, why did you choose to become a specialist in the finance of divorce?
Well, I'm a financial advisor. I have a business, Liebman Associates, which has been around for 25 years, my own firm, working in insurance and financial advisement and retirement planning and so forth. And about 10 years ago, I got involved with a group in Evanston called Lilac Tree, which is a non-for-profit organization that provides services to women going through divorce. And I began to realize that there were so many women that were getting divorced that really didn't understand their finances, and they didn't understand the decisions that they were having to make when they were signing their marital settlement agreement.
Isn't that interesting? Because it's sort of a macho thing to do. The guy is saying, hey, honey, don't worry, I'll keep the checkbook balance. I'll deal with all this sort of difficult, complex, manly stuff. And more women are being told, no, you've got to be able to be savvy and aware of what's going on in the family, so not necessarily just to prepare for divorce, but it's just a smart thing to do to have that knowledge.
Right. Actually, yesterday in the ARP magazine, there was a big article about how women need to know where everything is about their finances, because if their husband dies, you don't want to be going through the grieving process and still having to find out how are you going to pay your bills, where's the income coming from, where are the accounts, and so forth. So, yeah, it's very important for everybody.
With the dividing up of the assets, the who owes who what, women still do come out on the short end.
They do.
Now, why is that the case? They've got an attorney. Isn't that individual looking after their best interests?
I think attorneys are trying their hardest to look after their best interests, but if you yourself don't know what's best for you, what assets you should be receiving, it's hard to have an attorney necessarily do the best job for you, because you can't say, I need to have this. This is what's important to me. Women very frequently get caught up with keeping the house, which unfortunately in this market is really a disaster, because many of these houses are underwater, or the mortgages are so huge that when you sell the house there's very little equity. So you're keeping an asset that's going to cost you a lot to maintain, and when you sell it you're really not going to get money out of it that you really should. So that becomes a big problem.
Nancy, what are the top, 3 or 4 things a woman needs to know or think about or do if she feels she's approaching of a divorce?
Well, I think you need to meet with a financial advisor who can help you look at what your income is and what your budget is, so that you can be realistic about how that is going to be divided when you move forward in a divorce. You need to be aware of where all your assets are, retirement plans. Does your husband work for a corporation? Are there stock options, vesting? There are a lot of pieces that need to be assembled in order to understand what your assets are, and the biggest thing is that you also need to know what your debts are. And what I find a lot is sometimes the debts are overriding the assets.
Do you feel that a woman in, say, even a happy marriage should consider maybe having her name on a lot of these assets as well?
Yes, I think you should. Joint accounts, and what I tell women is it's always good at tax season to sit down before you sign the tax return and review, because you have all your statements for the end of the year. So you're going to see what your assets are, your retirement assets, your non-retirement assets, and get an idea of what's in your portfolio.
Yeah, again, not necessarily because you're thinking about there might be a divorce, but it just makes sensible sense anyway. Let's talk to Kathy on WGN. Hi, Kathy. You're on WGN.
Hi.
Go ahead.
How are you, Bill? I have a question. My sister's going through a divorce in Nevada, in the Las Vegas area. Has hired one of the supposedly best family law attorneys and is struggling about the asset situation. Her husband filed. He's the one with the massive amounts of gambling debt, and she's being told she's got to give him half the 401k. Nevada's that kind of state. She needs someone, and I'm wondering if your book addresses a national network that she could talk to someone about the assets?
The national network is the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. It's IDFA, and she can go on the web to that, and she'll find people who do something similar to what I do, and be trained in that background and talk with them, because every state does have specific laws.
Correct. And so you would recommend, even though she's well into the process and there's some real roadblocks that they've been running into, that it's not too late to go to this and get somebody to help her.
No, it's never too late unless you've already signed the agreement.
Oh, no, they're not even close on that.
No, I think she should get her independent advice from a financial specialist.
Perfect. Okay, we'll get in touch with her and tell her. Thank you so much.
Glad you called, Kathy. Linda on WGN. Good morning, Linda.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I've been divorced for a couple of years, and I've been married for 30, but I've never gotten maintenance or anything. It was always on reserve. They put it on reserve because he wasn't working at the time, and they said if he got a job or if he had any kind of disability or anything, I would be entitled to that. Well, he didn't get a job, but he is on disability, and I was just wondering if I would get a portion of his disability.
Well, I don't know what your specific situation is in your divorce or what your agreement was, but you would need to talk with an attorney regarding that, because you would have to go back to court in order to file to get a piece of his disability income.
Do you know if it has anything to do with, like, how much I'm making?
You know, it's hard to address such a specific question without really knowing the full background.
Okay.
So I think I would recommend that you see a divorce attorney and speak with them and let them review your agreement and see what your options are.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good luck to you, Linda, as well. Why don't you share your website for people?
My website is getyourfairshare.us. And on the website, you'll not only find out more about myself, but we do have a lot of blogs with information as to things that you should be doing if you're considering divorce, how to handle specific situations. It's possible for you to buy my book. My workbook is on that, and the workbook is also on Amazon.
And what's the name of the book again?
The book is Get Your Fair Share, Control the Purse Strings of Your Divorce. It's a very simple workbook that we designed specifically for women to help them access all of the basic financial information that they're going to need when they go to meet with an attorney or a mediator. And my philosophy is that you need to understand this material before you meet with your mediator or attorney, because you need to know what's going to be best for you and where the problems are and what some of the options may be. So I strongly suggest that you have an opportunity to do that before you really begin the process.
Get educated.
Get educated and empowered.
Yeah, because when the emotions get wrapped up in the whole process, everybody's in tears and your heart's being torn apart, you kind of can't think soberly about these kinds of very important things that are so key to your quality of life after divorce.
Well, that's the thing. You have to think about what kind of quality of life do I want to have? How am I going to take care of my children if you have children? And you really need to know, what is your income going to be? Where is it coming from? And is that enough to live on? And so all of those questions are questions that we address when we work with clients to help them evaluate what's the best situation for them.
Nancy Liebman, thank you for enlightening us. Very important.
Thank you.
Good luck with your